Hi there, I'm Roux. Welcome to my video. Let's talk about Kevin, shall we? Kevin McAllister from Home Alone? No, not that Kevin. Kevin from The Office. Thank you, Lunamain, for suggesting this wonderful subreddit, r/StoriesAboutKevin. Now for any of you who hasn't seen The Office, I suggest you do make good life choices. But also, if you have no idea what we're talking about, a Kevin is someone who is extraordinarily dumb and lacks all kind of common sense. They're in their own world and, there's nothing diagnosably wrong with them. It's just, they're so dumb and they lack so much common sense that you're just left wondering, how is this person still alive? And you start suspecting that there's some archangels working overtime on their behalf. And somehow they just brush themselves off and they don't really get hurt when they do very, very ignoramus things. It's quite amazing to behold. So without further ado, let's get into some stories about some Kevins, shall we? Kevins outside, in the wilderness, skiing. What could possibly go wrong? The stories I've chosen are all by LuckyZacky. Before I share some stories, I should lay some foundation. I worked at a ski hill in Canada for about 7 years as a chairlift operator. A fancy title for someone who is just there to make sure the ski lift was running and to do his best to prevent suicide or manslaughter by stupidity. For those who have never experienced temperatures below 40°C, I should also explain snowboarding and skiing. The sport is effectively zip-tying planks to your feet, going down a hill, and trying not to die. You can also spice it up by doing jumps and tricks. As sports, skiing and snowboarding don't require much physical fitness. I've seen people in their 90s go faster on slopes than highways. Also, you don't require much brains. I've seen many children not old enough to write their names able to ski backwards. No, what is required is courage. I've been on hills so steep the only thing preventing tumbling to my death was my ability to maintain Match 1. Otherwise, there wouldn't be enough force to keep my board on terra firma. Why are you using such large words, Zacky? Why? Us civilians don't understand what you're saying. What I think you mean is your ability to just stay upright and keeping your board on the snow. Am I right? I don't know. Comment below. So, a sport that requires more balls than brains is a fertile ground for Kevins. Here are some of their stories. Safety is for the sober. Kevin 1 gets drunk. Kevin 1 goes up the chairlift. Kevin 1 does not put the safety bar down. Several meters from the top of the hill, he passes out and falls down several stories. A mere mortal would have hoped for death, because at that height, you would be likely to end up in a wheelchair for life. But this drunk Kevin might as well be Gumby himself. The only reason he didn't walk away was that he was too drunk to walk. I mean, sitting in a wheelchair is not worse than death. I find that offensive. Also, though, studies show that the reason kids don't get hurt is because they're not clever enough to, brace their body. You actually get more hurt by stiffening your body and bracing yourself. But because kids don't know that you're supposed to do that instinctively, they just sort of bounce and, land weirdly and somehow don't get hurt. So maybe if you're a Kevin, you're just indestructible and you carry that trait with you for life. Sounds pretty neat. Next! Colorblind Kevins. Working at a ski hill for so long, you start seeing Kevin patterns. I discovered they are like deer and cannot see neon orange. You see, all our barriers were neon orange and Kevin's could not see them, so they always went around them. Kevin 2 was approaching the chairlift, ignored the neon orange sign and the sign that said, "Wait here." He then stopped to wait his turn, leaned on his ski poles, and turned to Kevin 3 to chat. When the steel chair support struck his head and the sound of an empty rain barrel rang out, and all believed that he suffered permanent brain damage. However, this is Kevin. Any damage would have been impossible to notice. The medical staff figured it was a minor concussion at worst. His perpetual dazed look was simply his brain trying to comprehend actions have consequences. Next! Camo Kevin. Kevin 4 and Kevin 5 are going on the chairlift. They decide making the lift bounce sounds like a good idea. However, behind them is a young girl and the bouncing is making her slip under the bar. By the time they all reach the top, the girl is hanging on for dear life, Mission Impossible style. Focused on making sure the girl is safe, the lifty at the top makes a mental note of what they look like. He then contacted me at the bottom of the hill to catch them before they try to go back up. The discernible feature I'm looking for? A bright neon orange one-piece suit. A lighthouse on fire would have been more subtle. But since Kevins are blind to neon orange, I'm convinced he thought he was John Cena. They beelined it to the chalet, but I knew they were just waiting for the heat to die down, and that they were going to try the other lift. We only had 2 or 3 running. Sure enough, about 20 minutes later, I see them heading out. I get my coworkers to cover me, and I pull them out of the line. I tore them a new one for about 10 minutes. Every minute, contemplating if I should just accept a fate in prison, knowing the world would be a safer place without Kevin 4 and Kevin 5. My power trip ended when my boss came over and threw them out. All he told me was to call him next time. I'm just imagining their faces like, what do you mean it's dangerous to bounce the lift? You don't get hurt by falling? Actually, we do. Us mere mortals do. We're not all Kevins. We're not all indestructible. Next! The Kevin trap. With such a high amount of Kevins passing through, management found a way to make money off of many Kevins' humiliations. Every early spring, near the end of skiing season, a large hole can be dug right at the feet of our largest jump. A tarp would be thrown in, and then melting snow would be allowed to fill it with Arctic water. Then a weekend would be chosen for those crazy enough to attempt jumping over it. However, wet snow is less slippery than sandpaper, leaving many Kevins in oversized attire to land in frostbite water in glorious fashion. Wait, you hurt them on purpose? This is taking a dark turn. Next! The Exile of Kevin the Sixth. Because of the need for a large labor force for a seasonal job, standards can be quite low for new hires, and many Kevins and Kevinas, the female Kevin, have worked with us over the years. However, most were sent to work at the tubes, a far less desirable place due to the fewer hours and more physical labor. However, Kevin 6 was charming, and he managed to bamboozle our manager into thinking he was normal. Kevin 6 was assigned to my lift for his first shift. Seemed normal, so we sent him to the top of the hill for a 2-hour rotation. Working up there is so simple, an actual potato could do it. You sit in a heated shack. If someone crashes while coming off, press the red button and deal with it. And if the lift is ever stopped, press the green button when ready. However, this is Kevin. He blasts his heavy metal loud enough to drown out any attempts to contact him, covers his eyes, and goes to sleep. Meanwhile, at the bottom, we stop the lift. We call him to restart it. He doesn't pick up. Before we can do anything, a customer informs us that Kevin is unconscious, but no one can reach him because he accidentally locked the door. When our supervisor reached the top, he opened the door with a kick that would have belonged in a cop show. Was he fired for endangering customers through negligence? No. He suffered a fate far worse. Exiled to the tubes. Next! Exile of Kevin the Seventh. This is starting to be like some sort of royal bloodline. Kevin 7 is working at the top of the lift. Kevin 7 starts hotboxing the shack. Kevin 7 is scared by the supervisor kicking the door in. Again. Kevin 7 is exiled to the tubes. Wait, are you telling me that 2 separate people accidentally locked themselves in the shack? What? Next! Afraid of dehydration. Kevin 8 tries to embark with a beer in his hand. No booze during or before riding is allowed. Coworkers tries to take it from him. Kevin 8 resists. Lift chair hits Kevin 8 and coworker before I can stop it. Kevin is drenched in American water. I guess he likes his Bud Light so much, he must like smelling like a brewery, right? American water. Those were really funny stories. If you want to check out more of LuckyZacky's stories, he's posted more Kevin stories. There are links in the description. I personally have known some Kevins in my life. You know how sometimes you're like, no one can possibly be this stupid. And then you meet one and it's like, oh my God. Like, for instance, this girl I went to high school with, she was just really pretty. And it was all ruined every time she opened her mouth. Because she would say the dumbest things. Like, for instance, how she didn't want to take a pregnancy test because she might be pregnant, but she didn't want to take a pregnancy test because, duh, if she takes a pregnancy test, then that makes her pregnant. What? Pretty sure you're pregnant either way if you take the test or not. That's just like proof. What the test did not make you pregnant, girl. Yeah, that's it for today though. I'm still working on my secret project. I'm gonna be posting it soon. I'm gonna start posting 2 videos a week. This secret project is going to be the 2nd video week. I'm really excited about it. I'm gonna lay a little hint in the screen right now. Feel free to guess wildly in the comments. I hope you're excited for that and that you'll come back every Friday because I post every Friday and soon it's gonna be 2 videos a week, so subscribe. And if you have any funny stories, do send them in on my website, link in the description. Thank you so much to my wonderful patrons. Without you, I wouldn't be as empowered as I am. I feel so lucky to have you. You spur me on. Thank you so much, Capra, Magdalena Jaworska. I'm trying to say it correctly, sorry. And Cami. See you next time. Thank you for